Hello. So today I'm going to talk about 7 questions I get asked about starting a home bakery business. Number 1, what are your tips for looking for a space to rent? So if you live in an area where you're not allowed to have a home bakery and you still want to do something small, or if you live in a kitchen that's too small to kind of really get started, you can rent a commercial space. This wasn't that popular when I started, but now a lot more towns are opening up like communal kitchens where you can rent space in a commercial kitchen. So it's like a fully equipped commercial kitchen that has maybe stations for different bakers, and then you go in, rent the space once a week, a couple times a week, once a month, and you do all your baking, and then you leave. So it's not your space, it's just a space you rent. So if you're looking into something like that, these are some tips, because this is what I started to do when I was going from home baker to bakery. And that was my plan: build up my home bakery, then go rent a space that is like a communal commercial kitchen, then open up the bakery. But I just found a place to open the bakery sooner than I expected, so I skipped that middle step. But that's a good idea if you want to kind of save up money for your bakery as you go, just gradually, instead of going from home bakery right to storefront bakery. So if you're going to do that, look for pricing, of course. I mean, try to find something good price, but if you find something that seems like too good of a price, kind of dig deeper, because they might charge you for different things. Like you will get charged for storage at most places unless it's included. But if you want to store your ingredients there, that is something that they might charge you for, like shelf space. So you don't have to carry your ingredients there and back every time. But if you're only going to be there once a month, it might be okay just to bring everything with you. But if you're not, and this is going to be something you're doing weekly, you might have to rent some storage space for your packaging, your ingredients, and some refrigerated space. So look into that. Pickup. Can people come and pick up there? Like you have all of your stuff ready to go, packaged up, and can you have customers come and pick up at the kitchen? And packaging time, if you're thinking, okay, it's gonna take me this many hours from start to finish to bake my product, you have to include packaging time in there as well. Because in most states, maybe there's some secret law in some states, but in most states, you cannot take your unpackaged good into your house then after that and then package it up there from your own fridge. You will have to do the whole process start to finish, from prepping your ingredients to packaging them into their final package in the commercial kitchen that you're renting. Okay, so you'll have to include your packaging time in there as well. I'm sure you can prep your packaging, get everything ready, get all the labels printed, everything like that at home, but then you need to bring all of that stuff into the commercial kitchen to have that done there. See if maybe there's an area you can do your packaging there, but just don't forget about the packaging as part of the time you will need to rent the kitchen. Okay, and fridge storage, I kind of mentioned that earlier, but see how much that costs, how much room you can get if you need freezer storage as well. So ingredient storage, packaging supply storage, maybe if you're going to be doing it often, if you're going to be there often, fridge storage and freezer storage. So that is something to look out for. And some of it's included, some of it you get like a shelf, and you might just have to bring it back and forth at first while you're kind of cutting costs. And then as you start to sell more, you can look into storage space maybe. And look into having someone there with you. Because if you could pay someone to help you while you're there, or you have a family member or friends or something, see how many people you're allowed to have with you helping you. Some spaces will limit it and you can only have like one helper, but even that, you could double your production and save money on the amount of time you're there. Okay? If you want to see more videos like this, hit the subscribe button below and the bell next to it, and you'll be notified whenever I come out with a new video. Okay, number 2, how to make a business out of making macarons when they're so finicky. Okay, so that is a tough one. When you're first starting, you're going to have a lot of mess ups, but I know it doesn't sound like this is going to happen, but with practice, they will get better. I used to have maybe 5 macarons a batch that were messed up that I couldn't sell. Now I have maybe 0 to 1. Like, if you keep practicing, you will get better, and the macarons will get better, and you won't have as many mess ups. So that won't be as much of a problem after you've been doing this for a while. But a lot of the times I got a different oven, and started baking in a commercial kitchen. So a lot of times you'll keep getting broken macarons. And that is also fine because if you're doing farmers markets or pop-ups or anything like that, you can use those macarons as samples. As long as they taste good and the texture's good, if they're like slanted or something, you can use those, cut them up, use them as samples for people to taste. And you could do, if you have consistently, you're making, 5 bad macarons a batch, you could sell the misshapen ones at a discounted price. Do a bag of broken macarons or something for cheaper, and trust me, as long as they taste good, the texture's there, that's not something anyone will care about, especially if they're a lower price. Okay, and you can come up with some desserts that include the broken shells. So I've seen people do macaron fudge, macaron brownies, macaron cheesecake. They'll grind up, let the shells dry out a bit, grind them up, use them as a cheesecake base, use them as the flour in your brownies. Get creative with the way you use your broken shells, and you can have those every so often, those macaron desserts as well. Or macaron trifle with layers of the broken macarons, and there's just macaron cake balls. I guess they wouldn't be cake balls, but when you squish up all the shells, mix it with some sort of buttercream, dip it in chocolate. There's just a lot of different ways you can take those broken shells and make them into something better. Okay, number 3, where do you source the most cost-effective packaging? So I have a whole video about that in my favorite packaging. You kind of have to look on your own. That's a good place to start, but depending on what country you're in and what state, you might have better packaging that you can find in your area. Usually that's not the case and you need to go online, but the shipping is what gets you. So if you're closer to a better packaging distributor and you can pick up, that's something I would look into. Or if you have a packaging distributor near you that will do custom boxes without having to get too big of an order, that could be something. But really just look around, but don't forget to calculate shipping prices. Okay, number 4. Any tips on how to save time making macarons? So I wasn't going to do this video macaron specific, but with any baked goods, you have to kind of lay your steps out. Do this on a piece of paper. Lay your steps out and see which steps or what things you're repeating and what you can do to avoid repeating those. Here's an example. If you make the macaron shells, let them cool, package them up, put them in the fridge, then the next day make your buttercream, take them back out of the fridge, fill them, put them back into the fridge, and then the day after that, take them out of the fridge, package them all up. It doesn't seem like it, but that, putting them into the container, putting them into the fridge, taking them out, that is adding on time. So things like that. So can you make your fillings first, or can you make your fillings while your macarons are drying and cooling so you can take them straight from the tray, fill them, then put them in the fridge? Or can you get your packaging ready so the same day you're filling them, you can put them in the packaging so you don't have to put them into the fridge, take them out, then box them up, then put the labels on them. So write down each step you're doing and how you can organize it so you're not doing things in between that you're repeating that you don't need to do if you would just arrange everything differently. So that's kind of vague, but that should help with any product you're making, not just macarons. So just list everything, all the steps out, and rearrange them and try different ways. And this is going to take a couple of tries. Try different ways, time everything, and if you can, time every step and see how long it takes, see what you can fit in, kind of overlapping. With macarons, that drying and baking time is a good time to fit in other stuff as well. So rearrange it and then try it different ways until you've got down the fastest way to do things. Number 5, how to get more exposure to your product. So there's a lot of different ways to do this, but if your state allows it, getting out there in front of people is a great way. Getting people to try samples of your products. So if you can do farmers markets, if you can do pop-ups, go to this video if you don't know how to do a farmers market, and just getting samples out to people. Bringing samples around to different shops, anything to just get yourself and your product out there in front of people, and doing giveaways. At first, it's going to seem like you're giving away a lot of product, but it's so worth it because, well, if it's good, if it's not good, don't give away your product. But it'll be worth it because you'll have people testing it, give them your business card. Just get out in front of people and give samples out as much as you can. Don't be stingy with your product at first and think, I'm not giving out samples if they're not paying, because how are they going to know if it's good? So give out a lot of samples at first if you can. So number 6, best way to label your product when selling. Do I need to make a base label or a different one every time? So if you're doing baking under the cottage food laws, in most states, you have to label everything in there. You can't just do a base label of what's in the shell and not include what's in the filling or something like that. You have to include every single ingredient, every sub-ingredient, every sub-ingredient, everything that's on. If you're making, let's say, Reese's cheesecake, you need to put what is in the cheesecake you're making, and then you need to put that there's Reese's in there, and then you need to put everything that's on the ingredient list on the Reese's package in there. So every single ingredient that is in that cheesecake is listed, and what is in each ingredient in the ingredient. Yeah, it gets pretty crowded on a tiny macaron label, but you have to put everything in there. So people know what they're eating when they're eating your product. All right? And that's something you don't want to mess up. You don't want to mislabel your products. Okay, number 7. Do you have any experience selling macarons on Etsy? Any thoughts on it? So I have never sold macarons on Etsy, even once I opened the bakery, because I've just never needed to. My website's been fine, but most states, you're not allowed to sell online and ship out of state. So if you are selling on Etsy, I don't know if the people that are selling on Etsy are keeping it within their state or if they're baking out of a commercial kitchen, but most states, if you're doing a home bakery business under the cottage food laws, you probably aren't allowed to ship out of state. So double check in your area, wherever you are, to see if you're allowed, but I never did it for that reason. I don't know if people on Etsy are doing it illegally or if they just have commercial kitchens or if they're only selling in state, but some states aren't even allowed to ship in state. So check on your area's laws and see what you're allowed to do, but most states under the cottage food law are not allowed to ship. So I never did that when I was baking at home, and now I just use my own website. I don't do Etsy, but it's something to think about if you maybe already have an audience on Etsy from something else, if you have customers there for other things. But yeah, most states won't let you ship if you're a home baker. And if you want to open up your own home bakery business and you need some help, I have a course called the Home Bakery Blueprint where you can work with me to grow or start your own home bakery business. So sign up for the email list below, or you can join the Michelle's Macarons Facebook group, and I will post in there when spots are open for that. Okay, and you can follow me on Facebook and Instagram. I'll put those links in the description below. Okay, check out these other macaron videos. Okay, love you, bye.